Joining me right now is Kentucky Congressman Andy Barr. He is also a member of the Financial Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Congressman, thanks very much for being here. Your reaction.
Good morning,
what
Maria.
should we be thinking now that you just heard the generals contradicting something that Joe Biden said to ABC News? Let's just point out the generals were under oath.
Well, it just underscores once again what a debacle this unconditional retreat was. And we have to wonder now that the generals and even the Secretary of Defense, who's a political appointee, is directly contradicting the commander-in-chief. Either President Biden can't remember what is going on and what advice he's getting at the highest levels, or he's outright lying to the American people about the advice he was receiving. And I have questions as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, once again, for the Secretary of State, who told me it was the general's advice to abandon Bagram Air Base. It appears that they can't get their story straight, and once again, this is undermining American credibility on the world stage.
Yeah, so where is this going? I mean, should we just watch this and see the back and forth with no accountability? Is anybody going to step down?
Well, as you know, Maria, I have called on all of the entire national security team to resign immediately. They bear responsibility, but obviously so does the President of the United States. To think that the President orchestrated this unconditional retreat, this debacle, this disaster, this humiliating surrender to the Taliban that resulted in us leaving Americans behind enemy lines, leaving $85 billion in advanced military equipment in the hands of the enemy, compromising the security of our homeland. We need accountability, and the president should take accountability, and the president's national security team should resign. We are not going to rest until we get all of the facts, and we want to hold this administration accountable. There's legislation that would require an accounting of the Americans still left behind, the equipment that's still left behind, and we in Congress, even if this president is showing weakness with respect to our national security, we want to make sure that this government, the United States government, does not recognize the Taliban as the official government in Afghanistan, and also deny them any access to U.S. taxpayer funding and assistance from international financial institutions.
I mean, what a joke. I mean, that we're supposed to acknowledge the Taliban as the government of Afghanistan. Congressman, come on. They pulled off a coup. They pulled off a coup, drove everybody out, started whipping women in the street, and now we're supposed to give them a UN seat. General Milley, what an embarrassment. He's defending the calls with his Chinese counterpart during the Trump administration, saying, quote, my loyalty is absolutely to the U.S. Well, it didn't show that when he called his Chinese counterpart, and it didn't show that he's loyal when he spoke with, what, 3, 4, 5 different journalists who were writing books against Trump. You introduced a bill that would force Biden to sanction entities determined to be Chinese military or surveillance companies, including Huawei. Tell me about the legislation. You think this has a shot to go through? Because so far, Joe Biden keeps giving victories to Xi Jinping.
Well, right. The unconditional retreat in Afghanistan and abandoning Bagram Air Base, the only air base with in a country with a physical border of China, is inviting aggression. And we saw the Chinese Communist Party signal that the United States is a weak and unreliable partner in their communications with Taiwan, threatening to take over that island country. But look, here's the bottom line: is that we do need to address this issue of Western capital flows into China that are fueling the rise of China's economic, technological, and military strength. We know that U.S. investors hold about $1.1 trillion in Chinese equities, over $100 billion in Chinese debt. Americans are exposed to companies like Evergrande, Didi, Ant Financial, where we see Western capital being trapped over there. But this goes beyond, Maria. This goes beyond U.S. investor protection. It is about Americans unwittingly financing the rise of Chinese military technology and surveillance companies that threaten U.S. national security. That's why we propose in this legislation to use the U.S. Department of Treasury Office of Foreign Asset Control to sanction all of these Chinese companies, whether they're listed on U.S. exchanges or they're private companies, to send a signal that we will not allow Western capital to fuel the rise of China. And this goes beyond the executive order from the previous administration and the current administration legislation because that only deals with restrictions on U.S. investors. If we use the power of sanctions, we not only get at private companies like Ant, like DD, pre-IPO companies, but we're also sending a signal to other Western allies and other exchanges located elsewhere. So we have a force multiplier. We have a multilateral impact on denying the Chinese Communist Party access to deep, liquid Western capital markets.
Well, I understand, but I mean, look, the U.S. and these investments are ultimately funding the CCP's expansion. And the CCP has been very clear they want to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. So have you spoken with the Commerce Secretary? Have you spoken with the President who wants to ease sanctions on Huawei, who just allowed their CFO to get on a plane and get released from a Canadian jail, under house arrest and go back to China? And what about Larry Fink? Have you called Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, who recently told his investors they need to up their investment in Chinese stocks by 3 times? Have you called Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater, who basically is managing money for the CCP?
Yeah, Maria, you've been on top of this from the beginning, and I applaud your reporting on this and holding these financial firm CEOs accountable. You know, Larry Fink of BlackRock not only said to up the investment, but to triple investment in China. And look, benign investment in benign Chinese companies. We do want to preserve Americans' access to emerging growth markets, and we don't want to counter China by becoming more like China. But at the same time, we want to send a strong signal and a red light to firms like BlackRock and other major banks and financial firms that you cannot undermine U.S. national security. And that's what this bill would do. And it is sending a loud signal to the BlackRocks of the world that Americans should not be financing the rise of communist China.
I understand. Congressman, nice work. Thanks very much for being here. Andy Barr.